In the tech world, we're pretty used to things moving fast. A new chip, a slicker app, but what's happening in early 2026 is something else entirely. It's a massive, glaring contradiction, a paradox that has literally trillion-dollar stakes.
What we're really watching here is a classic David versus Goliath story, and it's playing out in real time. It's a clash between just raw brute force scale and a new kind of radical efficiency. And the question on everyone's mind is, who's actually going to win this thing?
Because what's so wild is that right now, two completely opposite stories are unfolding at the exact same time. On one side, you have this story of unbelievable, almost abstract levels of spending. And on the other, a story of groundbreaking efficiency that makes you wonder if all that spending is even necessary.
And this, right here, this really boils it all down. The Goliaths are betting hundreds of billions of dollars that they can just build an advantage so massive, so expensive, that no one can ever catch up. But the Davids, they're popping up out of nowhere and suggesting that maybe cleverness, not cash, is the new king.
So let's start with the David in our story. Because back in January of 2026, a model called DeepSeek R1 sent an absolute shockwave through the industry. And the headlines weren't just about what it could do, they were all about its price tag.
Okay, so to really get this, you gotta understand that the old barrier to entry for creating a top-tier, world-class AI model was $100 million. That was just the price to even sit at the table. If you didn't have a 9-figure budget, you weren't even a serious player.
And then DeepSeek just strolls in. The final bill for their model, a model that could go toe-to-toe with the very best, $6 million. No, that is not a typo. We're talking about a 94% reduction in cost. The game has just been fundamentally rewritten.
And just to put that number into a Silicon Valley context, that's barely enough to renovate a nice house in the Bay Area. We've gone from nation-state level spending to less than what a lot of startups raise in a seed round. It's wild.
But here's the kicker. The really crucial question is, was it just a budget model? Did they get what they paid for? The data says absolutely not. On this really tough math benchmark, a serious test of an AI's reasoning, DeepSeek R1 didn't just match the top-tier competition, it actually beat them for $6 million.
So, how on earth did they pull this off? Well, it all came down to a smarter way of doing things. Instead of the old brute force method, just feeding an AI the entire internet and having it memorize patterns, DeepSeek used something called pure reinforcement learning. Think of it like giving the AI a puzzle and rewarding it for figuring out the solution on its own. It's about teaching the AI how to think, not just what to say.
And you know what? This isn't a one-off thing. This whole trend of smaller, smarter models beating up on the big, expensive ones, it's happening all over the industry. You've got systems like Falcon H1R7B that are outperforming models many times their size. Efficiency isn't some niche strategy anymore. It's a proven path to the top.
Okay, so now let's pivot to the Goliaths. You think, right? You think a rational person would see this efficiency revolution and go, great, costs are coming down. But the giants? They're doing the exact opposite. They are reacting by spending more money more quickly than at any other time in history.
This number, it's so big, it's almost meaningless. The major tech companies are projected to spend $500 billion on AI infrastructure in 2026 alone. To put that in perspective for you, that's roughly the entire GDP of Austria. We're talking about nation-state level spending by just a handful of companies. It's insane.
And when you actually break it down, the ambition is just staggering. Meta is pouring up to $135 billion into their new personal superintelligence bet. Amazon is right there with them at $125 billion. And OpenAI, a company that's projected to lose $14 billion this year, is out there raising another $100 billion.
So this leads to this really weird economic situation that Wall Street is starting to whisper about. It's this circular financing problem. So here's how it works. NVIDIA invests, say, $20 billion in OpenAI. Then OpenAI turns around and uses that exact same money to buy the chips it needs from NVIDIA. So NVIDIA gets to book all that as revenue, but it kind of hides the real risk, which is the AI itself actually making enough money to justify these costs? Or is this whole thing just a house of cards?
Okay, so all this spending has to lead somewhere, right? And while this battle of the billions is raging inside data centers, the tech itself is starting to escape into the real world. If 2025 was the year of the chatbot, 2026 is the year AI gets hands, eyes, and a spot on the factory floor.
And we're seeing this pop up everywhere.
that Boston Dynamics robot Atlas, it stopped doing cool dance videos and started actually punching the clock at a Hyundai plant. We're seeing the rise of what's called agentic AI, basically software that acts like a digital employee to get complex stuff done. And in healthcare, AI is doing the seemingly impossible, diagnosing complex heart conditions from a simple EKG.
The impact this is having in the real world is just stunning. A huge industrial company called Danfoss used AI agents to automate a process that used to take 42 hours by hand and made it nearly instantaneous. And get this, the CEO of a company called Cursor used a team of AI agents to build a fully functional web browser from scratch in 1 week. But, and this is a really big but, this incredible level of efficiency comes with a pretty serious consequence. By definition, efficiency means doing more with less. And in the corporate world, less almost always means fewer people. This revolution has a very real and very disruptive flip side. And we're already seeing this play out. Amazon cut 16,000 corporate jobs as part of their push for AI-driven efficiency. But the really telling example here is ASML. These guys make the machines that make all the chips. They had a record profit of $11.5 billion, and they still cut 1,700 jobs. Why? Because the efficiency math said they could.
So let's try to bring this all together. You've got these two incredibly powerful, totally conflicting forces. Radical efficiency on one side, and just unprecedented spending on the other. What in the world does this all mean for the future?
Well, the biggest takeaway is this. The AI race is no longer a monopoly game. For years, we all just kind of assumed that only the richest companies on the planet could even compete. But DeepSeek proved you can be lean and still be absolutely lethal. Innovation is finally being decentralized. And what that means is the entire conversation is shifting. 2026 is the year we pivot from hype to pragmatism. We're moving away from just being impressed by the size of the investment, and we're starting to ask that really hard, simple question. What's the return? Does this thing actually work? Which leaves us with the trillion-dollar question that really defines this exact moment in time. With the giants spending $500 billion while innovators are getting the same or even better results for a tiny fraction of the cost, are we on the verge of the greatest technological boom in history? Or are we watching the biggest, most spectacular bubble the world has ever seen? The answer to that is going to define the next decade.